Do high achievers hate mediocre people?
And do mediocre people really hate the high achiever?
And who or what defines mediocrity anyway?
All that and more on this episode of Take It Offline.
The fundamentals of business. Mental is a part of the word.
I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few.
There's money in the banana stand.
I'm a hard-working man.
If you can't learn how to close, you better start thinking about another career.
Put that coffee down.
Welcome, everybody, to the Take It Offline podcast. That's Mike, and I'm Nate.
And thanks for being here on your Monday morning commute. We're here start of every week just talking work, life, leadership, and everything in between.
Mike and I have decades of leadership experience between the two of us, and while we haven't found all the answers together, we're at least going to ask the questions and have the conversations.
And Nate, those are perhaps the conversations that a lot of people are already having, or maybe in some environments wishing that they could talk about and have. So we invite you to join into this conversation. Let's have the conversations together. Let's talk about those things that you wish you were already talking about.
So many conversations. And actually, I have to say, this is going to be an interesting one because, Mike, I cannot stand the word mediocre. And I don't like mediocrity. I don't like spelling it. And in our notes, our show outline that I have here, I had to write it down many times, and I never spelled it the same way anytime. I don't like the word.
So you don't like it because you can't spell it?
Maybe I don't. I can't spell it because I don't like it. I'm not a fan of the word.
You spell it wrong because you don't like the word, and you don't want to actually spell. You won't write it down. Well, Nate, I'm going to try to use that word as many times as possible today.
Well, it's going to be hard not to. That's the topic of our conversation.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. Last week we talked high achiever and mediocre. We played this really cool clip from Nick Saban, and I think we both felt like there was more to talk about with that whole concept of mediocre.
Yes.
We got into high achiever pretty good, and so if you don't know what we're talking about, go back to episode 7, give
Pause.
it a listen.
Yep.
It'll make perfect sense. You'll love it.
We'll be right here when you get back.
That's exactly it. And but I think it's good that we're picking up on mediocre.
Yes, mediocre. But
he cringes when I say it.
Speaking of high achievers, though, we met a new high achiever during our show prep, our pre-show meeting last night at your house, Mike. We were hanging out in Mike's kitchen. Mike was nice enough, grilled some burgers. We were hanging out, talking, and Mike said, Parker's going to be by. We're going to have a visitor in a little bit. And it was just Mike and I in the house.
And what time?
You said 7 o'clock.
And he was there at 6:54.
6:54.
I've never met a dog with a better internal clock.
At 6:54, this dog, who might as well be a small bear. I mean, he's a huge, shaggy
Bernese Mountain Dog. He's huge.
All of a sudden shows up at the door and just starts like pawing at your door. Now, Mike doesn't have a dog.
No, we do not.
And so this
not
dog,
officially. We
no.
don't.
So Mike's like, oh, yep, Parker's here. Just always 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock every night. Parker shows up. Mm-hmm. So Mike goes, lets Parker inside. Parker's running around, big dog, just making a noise, smashing into things because he's huge. And Mike goes to the fridge, pulls out a bag of like pre-cooked chicken, pours it in a bowl, makes Parker
not just a bowl.
Yeah.
The dog bowl that my wife has bought for Parker, for the dog we don't own.
So there's a specific bowl.
She bought a dog bowl. She went out and bought a dog, like an actual, a dog bowl.
Yeah. So Parker,
because we didn't have a dog bowl, we don't have a dog.
Parker sprawls out on the ground. Mike's rubbing Parker's belly, and then makes him sit. And
I do love the dog.
He feeds him the chicken. And then Parker, starts following Mike around because, of course, he needs a beverage after his chicken. So Mike fills the dog bowl with water, and then
can you give a dog a beer? We should have shared.
I think it's ill-advised.
You've had more dogs recently than I have. I don't know.
I would not. It's not to be recommended.
I grew up in the era where dogs were treated very differently.
Yes,
it was more the farm dog style. And
they were outdoor animals.
So we would have given the dog a beer when we were
So
younger.
When Parker
we did not give the dog a beer.
Disclaimer. So Parker was done with his dinner and his drink, and he went over to the door and asked to go, and then walked right out the door and off to another neighbor's house, probably for another round of dinner.
But he doesn't walk; he runs. So we've got a theory that his his family lets him out at particular times to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he knows that he has to come visit us quickly. So he runs to us and
Okay.
he runs home so that the family won't come looking and figure out what he's done. I'm telling you, smart dog.
He has you and your wife well trained, apparently.
Yes.
Would you consider him a high achieving dog then? He's figured out a way to have a spare bowl at a house that isn't his.
He's figured out that he can show up at 7 o'clock and I'll feed him. He can show up at 9 o'clock and Mara will feed him. And he's figured out how to nudge the door open just right as well. Parker is a high achiever.
So do you think Parker hates mediocre dogs, other dogs that just lie around? And
No, he's probably very happy because he wouldn't get fed as much if everyone was a high achiever, there wouldn't be any high achieving. So I think Parker's okay with being the only high achieving dog in the neighborhood. I think he's all right with mediocre dogs.
Well, good for Parker then, I guess.
We'll have to ask him.
Continuing that thought that Nick Saban placed into our heads with that quote last week, that high achievers can't stand mediocre people and mediocre people can't stand high achievers. It really begs the question, as we talked about high achievers last week again, but mediocrity. What is it? Who gets to define it? Why do I dislike that phrase so much? Mike, where do you want to start?
So so I think the first place that you and I saw it differently, and it took me a while to get here. His quote, I think, it fits perfect inside of sports, right? And the reason why, and I think it ties back and it ties back to the purpose. What is the purpose of a football team? So he's got this college football team, the organization. Well, their purpose is not to make the fans happy. Their purpose is not even necessarily to make money, though a lot of
both of those things can happen.
Right. They're potential outcomes. Their purpose is to win the championship. Right?
Yes.
And so I get the idea. If I have people on this team that don't have the right standards or behaviors to help win the championship, then absolutely those individuals with the right standards are going to be frustrated by the others, right? If you're just here to get along
Right.
versus to win it all,
Right.
that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So here's where, and this is probably where we diverge.
Mm-hmm.
It's great in sports because in sports, it is very defined. It is a finite game.
Yes.
And it is, you've got a preset amount of time and rules, but in the rest of the world, that's not the case. In business, I'm going to put this simply, and then you jump in here. You don't have a winner in life. You don't have a winner in business. You don't have a winner in education. You don't have a winner in community service. All of those things, if done well, they're infinite. They continue, and you're always just looking to figure out how do we sustain and grow, but it is not about winning or losing, because in life, the way I measure success is not the way someone else does.
Right.
So I can sit here and go, I won and you lost, and you're sitting there going, I didn't even know we were competing. Right?
True.
There's no defined competition in that world. And I think in business, while we try to do that, it's not accurate, right?
Not entirely. I think that there's a case to be made that you can win in business. You can win a client. You can win a new account. You can win a promotion, so to speak.
Okay, so I'll give you that there are the finite game piece. So I'm referencing this idea of infinite game and finite game.
Just jump to that. Jump to that.
So it actually started in 1986. There was a researcher that did it. Simon Sinek. It was more philosophical, but Simon Sinek built his work off of it and applied it to business. So It comes from more recently Simon Sinek, and it's this concept that there's a finite game and there's an infinite game. And the finite game is really that there are winners, there are losers, there is a set amount of time,
Defined players and participants.
exactly,
Yes.
like in a sporting,
football
a
game.
baseball game, a football game, whatever it might be. But in business, so yes, I can have a finite. There can be a finite game inside of it, but business as a whole is infinite. So yes, you won the client, right? And we talked about this last night. So Nate, you won a client from a competitor,
Right.
Awesome. And it's like, I won. Well, the competitor, number one, didn't even know they were in the game.
Right.
And number two, you don't know that they didn't take just as much, if not more, from you in the
Right.
same day.
Right.
And you don't know.
Right.
So it's one of these, how
do you
can you
measure?
call that winning?
Right.
Because you don't really know. And if the idea is like, well, I won because of what? So I have my revenue is growing faster than yours, I win. And you go, but my revenue is 3 times yours, I win. So there's not a defined set of rules for what winning is.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you look
Yeah.
at the stock market, is it the stock price? Is it the market capitalization? Is it the growth percent? Is it the dividend that we pay out? Right? Is it the stock buybacks? Like what is it that you're going to define
defines
it by?
the win?
That defines it by, right? And so it all depends on what you want from your stock that you own or for what you're doing in the market. So that's where I come down on this idea that business is infinite. You are there to sustain and to grow and to continue and to exist because you have a purpose for existing. Versus the idea of, okay, we won. There's wins inside of it.
Yes.
So you win that client.
Okay.
Now the infinite game is keep them.
Yeah.
Keep them happy,
Yeah.
keep them satisfied, and keep them with you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the infinite part of it.
Which is part of, I would assume, why so many people experience burnout is because if you're in a race, there's a finish line. And so you can go all out for however many laps or meters or miles that the race is, but then you cross the finish line and you get to rest, you get to stop. And oftentimes in business or in life even, there is no finish line. It's this infinite loop that you're chasing, and
That's right.
And you burn yourself out.
And more to it, you burn yourself out when you feel like, gosh, I'm going in an infinite loop. Where's this going? What's the purpose? What's the reason for it?
What's the meaning?
And we talked about that in the burnout phase. It's not just the stress of always going. It's the stress of always going and feeling like you're going nowhere.
Let's take that now to the word mediocrity. How does that fit into our working understanding? Not even a definition, because the definition is
why do you hate it so much? Like, do we need to turn this to a Dr. Phil therapy session?
No, it has such a negative connotation to me. It sounds half-ass, middle of the road.
I think that's probably true for a lot of people,
Yeah.
which is I think you're absolutely right. And I think you hear it in Nick's quote. But for you, it seems personal.
It is, well, I spent a very long time working in an organization for a leader who was all about excellence. Excellence was the measure by which anything we did was measured. And anything less than excellence was failure. And it really, tensions were always very, very high because there was no margin for error. There was very little. Now, we were told that there was, but it was never modeled. And we were told that there was freedom to make mistakes or be creative within certain parameters, but it wasn't really true. And so I think a lot of it is I have within me that still sense, because there was a lot of good that was accomplished in that time and in that organization. And so it's difficult for me to erase that value because I saw a lot of fruit that did come from it. At the same time, it was very, very draining. It led to a burnout of sorts of my own. And so, but at the same time, I'm still not ready to say like, well, I'm just gonna be mediocre now. I still feel some drive to do what I do in an excellent manner and to do it very well. So mediocrity feels like settling, and I don't want to just settle.
Okay. So you would almost define mediocre as settling.
Yes.
Okay. I think a lot of the world probably defines it as little effort or not trying or not pushing or not going far enough. Just
yeah. So what are the words we kicked around with? Slacker, almost like slackers, but I think that's a different tier. I think that's different.
I think it is as well. So, Nate, I was curious on this, so I actually went and looked up what the word mediocre, where it comes from.
Ooh, the etymology. I love etymology.
And I don't normally do this, but I do enjoy it as well. I think it's fascinating. I like the etymology of, well, not always words, but I like the origin story of where certain things come from. Why do we say a particular phrase?
Yes.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So this is it's a Latin word. It comes from the Latin word mediocris, which is made up of two things. One is middle and one is mountain. And so it literally means halfway up the mountain. And technically it's like jagged mountain, but you're halfway up the jagged mountain.
So yeah, which sounds like a grueling climb. Some effort has put in to be halfway up the mountain.
Right. And for me, I look at mediocrity and I think it's gotten a bad vibe. I think it's one where we've redefined it and maybe not in the best way possible. But I also think there's two sides to it. I think there is I have a mediocre lifestyle versus I am mediocre in what I do. Right?
Okay.
So I don't just I don't take the job halfway there. Right.
Right.
But maybe I have a lifestyle that's very stable and comfortable. I've decided, hey, this is enough for me, right?
Yeah.
But it still means I can do good work. And I think there's a lot of people that have chosen, and I've got some examples of some individuals from history that just chose to say, I don't need this next level life, right? And I think, and maybe this is where I get caught up on it, and this is where our friends out there can write in and give us their opinions. I think so often the high achievement and the mediocrity, it's looked at from these social status clues.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, hey, do you have this? Have you done this?
External measures and external validation for sure.
Yeah. And so then mediocre goes, oh, well, you don't have that. You haven't done this. You haven't checked this box. So, well, you've got a mediocre life. Well, I think there's some that would say, I'm good with the mediocre life and I'm more focused on the things that I do them, and you talked about it, I can still do them with excellence. I can still do them with a high level of, it's career ambition versus craft excellence, right? So I don't have to have career ambition. I can still have excellence in my craft.
Okay.
And as a music guy, we talked a little bit about this. The person that makes beautiful violins, guitars, pianos, whatever it might be, right? They might work in their shop that's attached to their house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you would look and go, okay, well, that seems very mediocre. He's got no employees, doesn't do a whole lot. But what he makes is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
It's done with excellence.
Yeah.
And so I think mediocre gets this bad rap of, if you're mediocre, you do poor quality. You put in a half effort.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of, I went halfway up the mountain and I was okay because I noticed at the top of the mountain it was really narrow, really cold, and really lonely. I like it here. I also didn't want to be at the base because the base seemed to be a place where a lot of rocks fell down and it seemed a little bit unsafe. But this seems like it's a nice, safe, stable, consistent place for me to be. And I think it's okay when people choose that. You can still do lovely things in that space.
That's a really good analogy, and I do agree with you on that. And it's challenging my thinking on some things. One of the things that was impressed upon me was you shared a podcast with me. It's a podcast called Big Deal with Cody Sanchez, and it was episode 132. Episode 132, she had Dr. Arthur Brooks on. He's an author, a psychologist, and he said this on the podcast. It was so cool. He said, we are taught that if we are successful in worldly terms, then happiness will follow automatically. But the real truth is we need to shoot for happiness, and then we'll be successful enough. And that word enough at the end of that is, to me, the scariest part of the phrase, because it seems a little bit limiting. But if you take the full phrase, we're taught that if we're successful in worldly terms, and the worldly terms that he defines are money, power, pleasure, and fame, that if we achieve those things, that happiness will follow automatically. But what he's suggesting is, no, if we shoot for the ultimate rewards, the real, genuine vehicles of happiness, which is faith connection, family, friends, and meaningful work, then if we have those things, then we'll be successful enough, because we're not searching for that measure of our achievement from somewhere else. We already have it internally. We already know it and feel it.
So how do you balance that? Because it sounds like you like what he said, but you get to the word enough, and you said it looks like it bothers you a little bit, because I think in the sense mediocre means it's enough. Where I'm at or what I've done is enough. It's good.
Yeah.
And you struggle with that.
I do. I still struggle with that.
So even after hearing,
absolutely, well, that's part of why it was so impactful to me, is because it made me. I've I know it to be true. I feel that it is true. I've experienced the truth of it, and yet it's still like, but I'm really happy with my life, and I'm really happy with where I am. I'm happy with my career. I'm happy with my relationships. I'm happy that we get to do this. I really am very fulfilled in my life.
It sure sounds like there's a hairy butt coming.
There's not.
He's struggling not to say the word but.
I can't help but wonder.
See, there it was, but wonder.
I would like to achieve more in my career.
At the same time.
At the same time. I would like to achieve more in my career. I would like to do more meaningful work. I would like to have a greater impact on my community, on my kids, in my relationships.
Yeah, but I don't think that saying that, okay, I'm at a place of enough or I'm at a place of stability means that you don't aspire for more.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
You can still, like we talked, I mentioned the you make someone that makes a guitar. They're a craftsman, right?
Yeah.
They make this beautiful thing. It doesn't mean that they're not looking for a way to make a more beautiful guitar or to make a guitar a little bit different. They still might aspire for a new design or a new level of beauty in the work that they do, even though they're probably at a place feeling, satisfied, stable.
Okay.
Enough.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're exclusive in the sense that I can say I'm in a good place where I feel like I have enough, I've achieved enough, but it doesn't mean I need more. And that's where I think the high achiever gets themselves sometimes in trouble.
Absolutely.
Is that, I have to get more.
Right.
It's not
enough is never enough.
It's not an aspiration.
Right.
It is a need.
Yeah.
And we probably need individuals like that. So I don't want to discount the fact, and this is kind of my second point for me. I think you need both.
Yeah.
You need the high achiever that's pushing limits and trying, but you also need that person that we might call mediocre.
And I actually heard, I can't remember if you sent it to me or if I just started scrolling after, but you sent me a YouTube short, and there was a CEO of a tech company out in San Francisco or something, and she was talking about how her company is very high paced, very high stress. The burnout rate is high, and she's like, that doesn't mean that there's necessarily something wrong with my company. It just means that my company is for a very specific type of individual who wants to work there, who wants that type of, so she wants those high achievers like you were just describing, someone who's constantly like pushing and wanting more and more and more.
Well, that was the analogy that I was trying to make back in Burnout, right? That her company requires, it's a diesel engine and requires diesel gas. There's a certain fuel that needs to get into that engine in order to make it run. And if you're not diesel, then you're going to stall out in that situation. And so I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah.
That may not be the place where a lot of people want to work. Like if you're someone who desires stable, consistency versus intensity. And I think when we were throwing this back and forth, that was some of what we said, right? High achievers have this intensity about them, whereas a mediocre, what might be called a quote unquote mediocre individual, has more of a consistency about them. And maybe that's part of the dynamic that gets some pushback from time to time, is that I'm moving along at a certain pace.
Yeah.
You're moving along at a faster pace. You want me to go faster. I want you to go slower. But we probably both need each other. There's a little bit of a yin and a yang going on there.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that. And to be clear, stable is good, consistent is good, secure is good, peaceful is good. All of that is good. And I have a lot of that in my life, and I love it. Mediocrity is still a tough word, a tough pill for me to swallow.
Yeah, I understand it. Simon Sinek talks about this as well. He tells a story about American Airlines. And there was an incident a number of years ago where a passenger got drug off the plane and like bloody nose and bloody lip and all kinds of issues. I had broken ribs, torn shirt.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Whatever was going on, the person didn't want off. They took him off.
Forcibly removed.
Yeah, and there was a question like, gosh, how could you treat one of your clients this way? And I don't think it was someone that was necessarily violent, right?
Sure.
It wasn't anything along those lines. But for whatever reason, they pulled this person off in a pretty physical manner. And he said, I don't blame the people. Because when they ask, I was doing my job. And so what that tells is, okay, I have a choice here between what I think is right and should occur, and I have a choice between what I'm told to do. And I'm more afraid of the punishment for not following the rules
Yeah.
than the punishment for not doing what I think is right.
Yeah.
And he points to Southwest as kind of the opposite, where people feel safe in their culture and their environment
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah.
And then that drives the things that they do. So when you describe the struggle with mediocrity, I think some of it comes from the fact that you were in a culture where you were made to feel if you are mediocre or anything you do is mediocre, then you are a total and utter failure and disappointment.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, in our culture at large today.
Yes.
I think it's hinted at in Nick Saban's comment, and I fundamentally disagree that I don't think you should marginalize someone that has chosen that more stable, consistent path and glorify someone that's chosen the high achiever route. Because we looked at it last week. High achievers, we talked about the owner of Tom's.
Yeah.
He wanted to kill himself
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah. I was hearing a story.
Why would we glorify that?
Arthur Brooks told the story of he was meeting with a billionaire and he hadn't seen him in some time, and he noticed that he wasn't wearing his wedding ring, and he asked how things were, and he said, well, my wife left me. He said, oh man, what happened? He said, well, I really thought that if I made it to $1 billion, she would love me, and it turns out I was wrong. Which struck me because deep down, don't we all really, on some level, even though we know it shouldn't be, don't we believe that if we have more dollars in our bank account or more external status, or we look more important, or we have better clothes or a nicer home, don't we believe that somehow that gives us more value or more worth? We know it's not true, but we also kind of still ascribe to that belief, don't you think?
I think we subscribe to it because it's what we've seen.
Yeah.
You've seen the person. We all have. This is another story that I've heard out there. There's a guy, and he was, I think, a secretary of something within the federal government, and he would show up to give a speech. Mm-hmm. And when he showed up to give the speech, when he got a ticket on first class, he got picked up in a limo. Someone took his luggage in for him. His coffee was waiting for him when he got there. The whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
Then the administration changed. He was out, but because he still was an expert in this field, he was invited back to the conference. He had to pay for his own ticket. He flew coach. He had to carry his own luggage. He had to get his own taxi. And then when he got there and said, hey, is there coffee? They pointed him in the direction of the room and said, yeah, it's over there. Help yourself. And it's like, what's the difference? It was a year. Same guy, same intelligence, but his position brought all of these pieces. So what have you seen? Oh, gosh, Nate, if you have this title,
yeah,
you're going to get treated differently.
Yeah.
Right. So why do we feel that way? Like, well, if I just have VP in my title, if I just have, this degree, if I just, you start to feel like, well, I'm going to get treated with a different level of respect when I walk in the room. They're going to listen to me, whatever it is, because we've seen it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the opposite in when I was selling cars years ago. I sold a lot of very nice, luxury, expensive cars to really broke people. I sold a lot of luxury cars at high interest rates, high down payments, high monthly payments to people who really couldn't afford it but wanted to look the part. And meanwhile, I sold a lot of mediocre cars to people who just wrote a check and paid for it out of their bank account.
Well, look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, by all measure, like you look at his lifestyle, the way he dresses, the car he drives, the house he lives in, none of them scream billionaire.
Yeah.
But yet he's one of the wealthiest men on earth. And by most accounts, he's a high achiever. Right?
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. Dave Ramsey talks about this often. The person that looks rich is not.
Yes.
And the person that looks mediocre is probably rich.
Yeah. One of the other things that I'm learning, and again, I've always I've known it to be true, but as I move into my 40s and soon to be late 40s, there's a difference between resume achievements and eulogy achievements.
And all right, what do you mean by that?
So those resume achievements, that's the quote unquote high achieving achievement, the title, the authority, the responsibility, the compensation, all of that is a resume achievement. But no one's going to talk about the great client that you landed in 2026 on your eulogy. They're going to talk about how you were as a husband, as a father, as a friend, your faith. That's how you're going to be remembered at your eulogy, or how we ought to be anyway.
Yeah. I think when you said eulogy, my first thought was obituary, because I'm sitting there thinking, but people write all that stuff up in the obituary,
Sure.
just like they do
It's very
on
different.
their resume. But you're right. I would even take it further and say, what are they saying at your wake? Like, what are they saying when you get back to the house and everybody's just mingling, and they're telling their stories?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I see it.
Yeah,
as you describe that.
Those are those eulogy achievements, I would say.
Right,
Yeah.
and those are probably the true testaments of a individual's achievements.
Yeah,
the achievements that matter.
Yeah, I've heard it said this, and again, I'm not saying that I have this perfectly. I'm learning it, and this is the way that I want to live. But I've heard it said, have enough love in our lives so that there is enough stuff.
Have enough love in your life so you have enough stuff.
Because if you have enough love in your life, then the stuff is secondary. It doesn't matter. You're not chasing it because you already have all that you need. Adding additional things to it is great, but you don't need it. It's enhancing something that's already good and whole all on its own.
Okay. I can't disagree with that. I think you're spot on. And it's a little bit of what I mentioned with the aspire. So you can aspire for more.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have more. So let me tell you a story on mediocre that maybe will make you feel better about. I mean, and Nate, you're not a mediocre person.
Well, thank you. Nor are you, Mike.
Actually, I would tell you that I probably am. I think by some definitions, I've achieved a lot.
Okay.
But I am very comfortable with the simple. I drive a vehicle that's 15 years old. I went from a very large house to a very modest house. When we do vacations, I don't need to stay I knew a guy, he wouldn't stay in a hotel if it didn't have a glass door. If it had a shower curtain, he'd go back downstairs, check out, and leave.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, that was his standard. Like, couldn't have a shower curtain. And I'm like, who cares? Like, the shower curtain's no dirtier than the glass door. I mean,
yes.
Probably. I don't know.
Now, don't sell yourself.
I don't
want
to know.
Don't sell yourself short here, though, Mike, because you do have a modest house. I would not call it mediocre. You've done a lot of work, a lot of renovation. It's a beautiful, beautiful home. You do have a high achieving toilet, though.
Yeah, yes. But that's all thanks to my wife, which is amazing because
we need to explain this though, because people might be thinking that we're talking about something else.
So I made a joke, I think in episode 2, about when you were talking about toilet sounds.
Okay.
And then you're on a list somewhere.
Yeah.
Episode 3, I think it was.
Did you talk about your Bluetooth toilet?
All I made was the comment that since like you were all into toilet flush sounds, that I knew someone that could help you with the whole toilet.
And that was you?
situation. That was my wife.
Okay.
My wife is not a gadgety person. I'm a gadgety person. I love the latest.
Yes, you do.
I love the latest gadgets.
You always have a gadget.
Yes.
Inspector Gadget, we call you.
Yeah. That was a great show, though.
Yeah.
Like, I came home from school. Such a great show. Yeah. All right. Anyways, we could do a whole episode on great cartoons that kids today have no clue how good they were.
We'll add it to the list.
Yeah. Back to. So she picked out this. We were redoing the bathroom, and she picked out this toilet, and I was like, okay, whatever. And it looks very minimalistic.
Yeah, futuristic even.
And well, when I first looked at it, it's tankless, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Turns out that it has a whole bunch more features. You got a chance to see it. You want to talk about the features?
It's you know how some of you might know this. If you have a vehicle with an automatic tailgate that goes up when you like tap underneath the bumper with your foot, Mike's toilet seat moves up when you tap the bottom of the bowl with your foot, and then if you tap it again, it moves up the lid. And there was a remote sitting on a shelf next to it. I think it played music that's heated. There is the water's heated. Is it?
So you didn't? Yeah, there are some things I didn't point out to you.
Okay,
but it has.
Take me through the list of features.
It has a bidet.
Okay, of course.
Front and back with heated water, blow dryer. It has a night light. It sanitizes itself. It's crazy, and it wasn't. It sounds like it's a $1,000 toilet. It's not. So much so, the contractor that's doing our work, he
this is great.
He brought his girlfriend over, supposedly to help clean up.
Right.
but there was a lot of time looking at the toilet. Yeah. And then he comes out, he goes, "Hey, Mike, Jenny's interested in the toilet. Can you send the link?" So I send him the link, so he's going to buy the toilet.
Do you guys get any kickbacks for referring customers?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't refer a customer, it's his girlfriend. So I don't think that counts as referring a customer.
Well, if she bought it from a link that you sent.
No, nothing quite like that. Yeah. I would be a great gadget, Amazon reviewer, whatever.
Well, we're open for sponsors.
Yeah. They're one of my favorite podcasts. One of the things that they do is they actually each week, some member, just four of them, but each week somebody brings some product or thing that they have found that they really like, and they just share it.
Okay,
they're not even getting paid for it; they just share it because they found this thing that they think is cool. That could be fun, and maybe
that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the list of ideas. We've gotten way off track here, and
we are. But
bring us back, Mike.
You mentioned you hate the word mediocre, so I'm going to tell you about someone that would be called mediocre.
Okay.
So maybe it resets your perspective on this.
Okay.
Are you familiar with a gentleman named Munson?
The name rings a bell.
Probably does.
Okay.
Very famous story from a Jim Collins book.
Okay.
Great by choice.
Yep.
So, and Munson and Scott were two explorers that decided to go to the South Pole.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and Munson he did a lot of planning for this, but he would only go 15 to 20 miles a day.
Okay.
And there's a lot more to this story, but I'm going to give you the short version. Even if his team felt good, the weather was good, he had restraint. He had a limit. We're going to do 15 to 20 miles. Right. That's it.
And if the weather was awful,
they still tried to do 15 20 miles.
Right.
Yep. Meanwhile, Scott, he pushed his people to exhaustion, and then so much so that sometimes they couldn't go the next day. And it was just this crazy cycle of 40 miles, no miles, all of this stuff in between.
And at the time, those two explorers were in a race to get to the South Pole. It was the two different countries were trying to be the first to stake a claim to being there.
That's right. No one had ever been there, so they wanted to put their flag on it.
Yeah.
Well, long and short, Munson gets there before Scott.
And Munson was the guy going
15 to 20 miles a day.
Right.
So consistent, right? Not intense. Mm-hmm. And he got there 34 days early. His whole team then was able to go back home safely and celebrate. Scott, he showed up.
He made it there.
34 days later, him and his team show up. Not a single one of them survived on the way back.
Because they were completely out of food, completely exhausted.
They all died.
Yeah.
That's right. And so there's something to be said for the consistent, the stable approach, right? Now, you could say they're both high achievers. They're going to a place that no one's ever gone before. But by standards, someone might say, well, you're not pushing yourself, right? You're not scaling, disrupting, optimizing, right? Because you're only doing so much.
Yeah.
But that approach helped him to do something that was great, something that was excellent.
Yeah.
Versus someone who said, I'm just going to go just as hard and fast as I can, and he killed everyone in the process. So there's something to be said, I think, for that middle space that we often marginalize in normal society today. If you're not going 1,000 miles an hour, then you're not reaching your potential. Nietzsche said this. Nietzsche was all about this idea of, the hustle and you've got
that's right.
If you're not striving, then you're wasting your potential.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's an exaggeration in my opinion for that. I think there's another place. And so I struggle with this because I do believe you need high achievers, and I admire them. And I do believe that I have respect for someone that is in the stable place. And we both are in the same thing. That person that gives the minimal effort, what do we call them?
We call slackers.
Yeah, slacker that gives minimal effort. That's a whole different story. That's a concern in general. But that middle place, I have respect for.
Just solid, dependable performer.
And I think we should have respect for it. I think they add value. We need both.
Yeah.
You need both. You can't have everyone that's living in the middle, and you can't have everyone that's trying to live at the top. You need both that can help to balance and help to offer perspective for either one of them. We shouldn't glorify or marginalize either one. Neither one is necessarily bad in its own right or good in its own right. There are positives and negatives to both, but we as a society, we need the person that wants to live in the middle, and we need the one that wants to push the limits. I think it's why capitalism has worked so well, because you can do either.
Yeah. Well, and that was going to be, as you were talking, I was thinking at different seasons in anybody's life, you might move back and forth between the two. You might say, you know what, I'm just going to chill for a while. This is where I need to be. This is where I need to be for the time being. But then there may be seasons where it's like, hey, I feel the urge to achieve a little bit more. There's this goal I want to hit, this target I want to hit. And so you push for a time and then you dial it back. And I think one of the key indicators that we came up with between high achievers and mediocre people is that mediocrity, people can be satisfied with their work, whereas high achievers are never satisfied.
Yeah.
Always chasing the next thing. And so to be able to say, okay, I'm going to chase this and then be satisfied for a time.
Yeah.
I think that's a value.
I really like the way you put that, because I do think there are times in life where you might decide, okay, this is my time for high achievement, this is my time for stability, and then maybe you get back to a season of high achievement as well. Yeah, I can absolutely get on board with that. We go through these seasons of life. So I think that's a really good point. Something I hadn't really thought about, but I think you're spot on there.
Well, Mike, this has been a fantastic conversation, but I think it's time to wrap it up with our final thoughts. What do you got for us?
Don't shame the mediocre. Don't glorify the high achiever. They both have a cost and they both have a benefit. You just got to make your choice.
I like that.
What's your final thought, Nate?
Well, earlier I quoted Arthur Brooks and said we need to shoot for happiness and then we'll be successful enough. And I wrestled with that word enough. And last week I used the quote, we can never have enough of that which won't satisfy us. And another way of saying that is to say, whoever loves money never has enough. And whoever loves wealth is never satisfied. And you can find that in Scripture. In the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes 5:10. You can look it up.
Dropping some Bible on us, Nate.
Thanks to you, Mike.
Well, team, that is a great use of our time today.
Ooh, he dropped the team.
We are a team. We're all in it together. That's right. We're glad you guys joined us. We want to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe to Take It Offline wherever you listen to your favorite podcast so that you never miss an episode. We're out there on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. You can subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review.
And we want to hear from you. We invite you to let us know where you listen, when you listen. Submit a question by email. Introduce yourself. Say hi. You can reach us at takeitofflinepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on LinkedIn. We're working on generating some content over there as well. And so if you found today's topic valuable, please share. Take it offline with your friends, colleagues, and keep the conversation going. I think, Mike, your boss is using one of our episodes as an example of some kind.
That's right. That's right. Yep, they're going to take one of our episodes and play it for their team for a discussion.
Man, that's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. So until next Monday, take care of yourselves.
And take care of each other, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
The Take It Offline podcast is a production of Take It Offline Media. All views and opinions are ours alone, reasonably informed, and meant for personal enrichment and entertainment.
Are you not entertained?
Views expressed do not represent any particular organization or employer. Copyright 2026 by Take It Offline Media.